Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hill, along with Ram head coach Sean McVay, and welcome to this very special edition of Facebook Live. And, Coach, I really can't think of anyone better to do on our maiden voyage than you, Coach of the Year. First, congratulations on being named Coach of the Year and all these wonderful things that have happened to you this year.
Well, I appreciate that, Jim. You know, like anything else, this is a reflection of our team, our organization, and when you got great players and great coaches, you know, these are where things like this occur. But it's been special to see all of our other players that have gotten the recognition and some of the postseason awards and made some good progress and a lot of motivation to try to continue and then improve going into next year.
Have you gotten over the sting of your playoff loss to Atlanta?
You know, I think you'll always remember that, you know, as far as you got to move on. And I think we're positive in terms of just being resilient in the way that we'll respond going into next year. But I thought it was a great experience for us. You know, credit the Falcons. They made the plays and we didn't do enough. But I know from the role that I had and not getting the result that we wanted, there's a lot of things that you can look inwardly at and say, what can you do differently to try to help put our players in better spots, just the overall management, maybe some of the things preparation-wise. But it's exciting. And I think the further away you get from the season, it's still tough to watch football. You know, you love it as a fan, but when you're sitting there wishing you were still playing, it's a little bit tough. But, you know, you can really appreciate what a special year it was, thinking back to that Tennessee game and the feeling in the locker room. You know, a lot of special people that were a part of the things that we were able to accomplish, and I think there's some good things ahead for us as well.
Let's go back to your very first meeting with this club. What did you say and or do at that very first meeting to gain their trust and respect, and vice versa?
Yeah, it's a good question, Jim. You know, I think it really goes back to even before we got a chance to really all gather as a team in April for the start of the offseason program, there was communication with a lot of the core leaders, the core veterans that were already in place, obviously our coaching staff, where you kind of try to shape the culture, the core values, the way that we want to operate. And that was a deal where it was everybody was involved in that, and we kind of clearly outlined so that, you know, we want to make sure that we're very clear, open, and honest in everything that we do. And we talked about the character, the communication, the we, not me, where there's certainly something special about being a part of something bigger than yourself. And I think the players bought into that. They were connected, and that's something that we'll strive to maintain as we move forward.
I know one of the things I noticed right away in training camp was there were a lot of golf carts out there, and the players had access to golf carts to drive to and from practice, which a lot of teams don't do.
That's right. You know, and I think a lot of that goes back to the one thing I think that has helped, Jim, is you got the right types of people, high character, but also if you're able to explain a why. You know, everything that we do, we try to be intentional about, and it's geared towards helping the players be at their best. And that's an example where we want to try to take some of that mileage off your legs, just walking to and from meetings to practice, things like that. And, a large credit goes to Reggie Scott and Ted Rath and their implementation of a lot of the things that we do geared towards kind of that sports science approach, taking care of the players. And, I think getting into this role, you're getting exposed to so many different things that play into being their best on Sundays or whenever it is that we're playing. And, that's what we'll try to do as we move forward.
You knew this was, and they had the capabilities of being a really good team. When in your mind did it click? You know what? We really have something special here.
Yeah, I think even going through the off-season program, even when you get a chance to go interview for a job like this, you see some of the core players in place, the special guys, the Aaron Donalds, the Todd Gurleys. You're encouraged about Jared Goff. You got Alec Ogletree and Brockers. So there was a lot of core players in place that you felt really good about. And then getting a chance to be around them, watch them compete. And then I think just like anything else, getting a chance to compete against another team where you really get a true gauge of where are we at. The Colts game, I think, served as a great opportunity for us to really see what a great start it was. And then we didn't get the result we wanted the next week. But what I think says as much as anything, Jim, is the way we responded from adversity. And not having any consecutive losses is a real credit to our players and the mental toughness that they displayed and not letting the same team beat us twice. But I think really just getting a chance to play that Colts game and then watching the way we responded from the first disappointment to go then on a short week and beat San Francisco. Those are the examples. And, you can really just go and appreciate the journey along the way. But there was a lot of examples that demonstrate the types of things that you want to see from your football team.
So in other words, the highs weren't really, really high and the lows weren't really, really low. You kind of kept an even keel throughout the whole thing.
There's no doubt about it. And you said it perfectly. That even keeled demeanor and disposition is exactly what we want to display. And we always talk about being process driven and focusing on that one day at a time. And I think that's going to be really important for us as we continue to navigate, our journey moving forward into the off season and into the next year.
Where did you get the it from? I mean, you come into the league, you make history, youngest head coach in NFL history, and a lot of people will say he has that it. In your mind, what's the it that you have?
Well, I think it's a blessing that I've been around great people. And, it starts with really my family and my grandfather's influence, being able to present you with opportunities that you wouldn't get otherwise. I'm not naive enough to think that when you're so fortunate to finish up a college career at Miami of Ohio and then an opportunity opens itself up to get right on John Gruden's coaching staff with the Buccaneers, that's a credit to the legacy that my grandfather's established, treating people the right way, doing things first class, and then that opens up an opportunity for somebody in that family to say, all right, here we go, and and then being around people like John Gruden's, the Mike Shanahan's, Bruce Allen, obviously working with Jay Gruden, people that were willing to invest in you, help you grow, and the timing has really worked out too.
Speaking of John Gruden, we know he is he's your mentor, but now he's going to be on the opposite side of the field going against you next year when the Rams play the Raiders, and he's already rated your staff.
I know. You know what? It's going to be pretty surreal, but it's great to have such a special coach back in the coaching profession. I always said that to him, as great as he was at Monday Night Football, you should be coaching, and the Raiders got a great one, great leader, and they got a great coach in Greg Olsen from us. And really, I think it's a great opportunity for Greg get back home with his family. He had some experience where he was working with Derek Carr early in his career, and he's a special player, and looking forward to rooting for those guys, except for that one game next year.
That's going to be a lot of fun watching and listening to you guys talk about each other back and forth, how he helped you and how he admires you and vice versa.
Yeah, I think really any time that you get into this and you talk about John being one of the most important and influential mentors of mine, I think just to be able to earn that respect and then, you want to make people proud. And in terms of who do you value their input, it's your players, it's the coaches you've been around, obviously your family members. But to have him, look at it and say, hey, proud of some of the things that you guys are doing in LA, that means the world to me. And he's a guy that's been very instrumental in being able to sit here and be able to do some of the things we're doing.
30, 31 years old, you already have your coaching tree going.
Well, I think that anything is about just the people that you're around. And we got a special group of coaches, and I think, when you just really look at it, people that are willing to invest in each other and help each other grow. And that's one of the things, even when we set out to finalize our coaching staff going back to last year, in a leadership role, you always want to listen, learn, and then lead. And when you've got great people that can help you do that, that's when you give yourself a chance for that growth.
I was talking to some people a few months ago, and we were talking about you and trying to say, well, who does he remind us of? And reminds me of Pat Riley when Pat first took over the Lakers and how he changed that culture, and look at what they did.
Well, that's a huge compliment. I have so much respect really for the coaching profession, and when you look at how long he was able to sustain success doing it at an early age, and then all the success he's had throughout the course of his career in coaching and being in executive roles, Pat's a special guy. But I think really when you really look at it, Jim, being around a bunch of good people where you come in, the players that are willing to buy in, if anything that this year has served us well, it just continues to reiterate that it's all about the people. And when you've got everybody working in the same direction, where there's clear, open, and honest communication, and that communication takes initiative, energy, and effort, but you got to be committed to doing it the right way all the time. Not day one, but day 361 and 365. And that's the type of people that we have in our building, and that's what you feel good about, having a chance to try to sustain some of the success and some of the foundational things that we were able to establish this past season.
Your offense this year was just absolutely magnificent, scoring as many points, as they did, and Jared Goff was terrific. But now, will Jared have another quarterbacks coach this coming year, which will be his third in 3 years?
It will, and I think the thing is the continuity in the system will be the same. So I think a lot of the core principles, the fundamentals, the techniques will remain the same. We're going to move up Zach Taylor, who is our assistant receivers coach. He'll coach the quarterbacks. He'll slide into Greg Olsen's role. Matt LaFleur, our offensive coordinator, is instrumental in a lot of the things that those quarterbacks are doing from a meeting standpoint, just day in and day out. But, Greg was certainly instrumental in a lot of the things that Jared was able to do this past year. But we have a lot of confidence in Zach Taylor's ability to step up. He played the position. He's coached it at a high level in Miami with the Dolphins, and he was a coordinator when Dan Campbell was the interim head coach. So we feel really good about being able to move him up into that role, and a lot of confidence he'll do great.
As far as Jared is concerned, it's almost like with your help, the light just clicked on this year?
Well, I think a lot of it is a credit to Jared and some of those coaches we mentioned with Matt and Greg Olson, because what Jared did a great job of is this goes back to even when I first got a chance to meet him, Jim, is before there was even a new head coach hired, he was intentional about getting with Tom House and some of these guys that are really areas of expertise with regards to the fundamentals, the techniques of the position, how you want to consistently deliver the football when you have a clean platform. And he did that, and he looked inwardly at what could he do to improve moving into year two. I think the experience factor was instrumental, being able to get those 7 games and then being real intentional about how can I become an extension of the coaching staff, really having ownership on the offense so that when I'm calling the plays, when I'm commanding things at the line of scrimmage, I exude that confidence. It rubs off on my teammates. And I think you saw that continue to grow as the season progressed. And we're expecting the same going into his 3rd year and our 2nd year together.
Todd Gurley could be, the league's MVP. Then on the other side, you got Aaron Donald, who is proclaimed to be the best defensive player in the league. You have all the pieces to the puzzle that you need to get to the ultimate goal.
Well, I think what you feel good about, Jim, is when you look at it, it's about the players, and we've got the right players at the right spots. And you talk about those impact type players that are special players, but they're special people. And when you've got guys like the Aarons, the Todds, the Jareds, the Andrew Whitworths, when they're the ones that are leading and demonstrating this is what it looks like day in and day out, you see the production, then everybody kind of falls in alignment with what we're trying to get done. And feel very fortunate to have those guys on our team.
Let's look forward now to the playoffs that are coming up. You know a little bit about a couple of these teams that are in the playoffs, the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game. I'd like to get your thoughts on what we can look forward to this year in the postseason.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at that NFC matchup, with the Vikings against the Eagles, 2 great defenses. And I think one of the things that makes them great is their ability, both the Vikings and Philadelphia, is they can hit home with the 4-man rush. Very sound in some of the coverage principles that they're playing on the back end. They have the ability to mix in man, and then they'll pressure you at the right times. I think Coach Zimmer and Coach Schwartz do an excellent job of mixing it up situationally throughout the course of the game. There's outstanding players on both sides. And then offensively, when you really look at it, really impressed with Nick Foles in the way that he played last week, where maybe didn't start off the way you wanted. He settled in. I thought Doug Peterson did an excellent job of kind of getting him into a rhythm. Guys made some plays, and his poise was impressive. They've got some outstanding playmakers when you look at what Jeffrey and Aguilar are able to present. Ajayi, I think, has given them a change of pace back where he's a stronger runner than I realized when we played them earlier in the year. Zach Ertz is a mismatch at tight end. And then when you flip it over, looking at the Vikings offense, what a great job Case has done leading those guys, just consistently making good decisions, creating off schedule. You got playmakers like Thielen and Diggs. I think McKinnon is an underrated back, and Pat Shurmur does a great job of finding ways to get guys creatively involved. You got Rudolph, and you see why these 2 teams are playing for the conference championship. So it'll be a great matchup. In terms of who you pick, and I can't make a pick. I'm just excited to be able to watch it. And then being able to play against both those teams, you have such an appreciation for their complete teams. There's no weaknesses. Offense, defense, special teams, they do everything well. They're coached well. They got the right personnel, and that's why you're in games like this.
It's like an encyclopedia talking to you. It really is. But let's talk a little bit about Tom Brady, because we know what he has done, what he's capable of doing, and now we hear the story about him having a hand injury to his passing hand.
Yeah, I'm not sure what how much of a big deal. I think Doug Marrone joked about he could probably throw with his left hand if he wanted to, and I would be willing to bet that whatever that hand injury is, Tom will find a way to be at his best on Sunday. And the consistency, I want to say it's 7 AFC championships in a row that the Patriots have been to. What a great job by Coach Belichick and their staff. And when you watch them play, I think the thing that's so impressive is their ability to just do it time in and time out and year out. And that consistency, you hear us talk about it, is the truest measurement of performance. They're the stable of what it looks like to do things right in this league right now. And I think it's going to be a great matchup, going against the Jaguars, where a lot of great playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Blake Bortles and Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, did a great job mixing it up. We know what a good back Fournette is, so it's going to be a great matchup. And both those games, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Excuse me. We talking about the upcoming year. But before we get to that, you need to get a little rest yourself, won't you?
I do. I'm a little stopped up right now. I think the further away you get from the season, the more you can look back and then kind of start to just get into a little bit more of a normal routine where you're getting some sleep, you're working out, taking a little bit better care of yourself. But, people ask Jim, what are you going to do now? You want to take some time off? The thing that's unique about this is what you love to do, studying football, it's almost a hobby. So you do want to have some balance, and I think getting away, we'll get a chance with my girlfriend to go to Hawaii next week, which will be really nice, and hopefully get a little bit of sun and relaxation. But we're excited to attack the off season and try to do things a little bit better. I know there's a lot of things that just year one will provide from my standpoint that I can do a much better job of for our team, and those are exciting things as we move forward.
It's like stealing money working with you.
No, I appreciate you, Jim.
I get even choked up talking to you. Thank you so much. That's going to do it for this edition of Facebook Live. I'm Jim Hill.